Captain Jextor felt his claws grip the control panel as the scanner readings flashed across his screen. 300 years of patrol duty along the outer rim had never shown him anything like this. The energy readings coming from the Sol system were massive. They were also impossible. "Sir, the readings are getting stronger," his scanner officer reported. Her voice shook slightly. "Whatever is in that system is putting out more power than our entire fleet." Jextor stared at the display. Sol was supposed to be empty. Well, not empty exactly. The records showed a primitive species called humans lived there, but they had gone quiet after their first contact with the galaxy went badly. That was 300 years ago. Everyone assumed they had destroyed themselves or gone back to living. "In caves! Send a message to Coalition Command," Jextor ordered. "Tell them we need a science vessel out here. Something big is happening in the Sol system." 3 days later, High Arbiter Velnoth stood before the Coalition Council on Nexus Prime. The Great Hall buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from 12 different species filled the curved seating areas. Their translators hummed softly as they spoke in their various languages. "The energy readings are confirmed," Velnoth announced. His deep voice carried easily through the hall. "Something in the Sol system is generating power levels we have never seen before." War Marshal Gorthek stood up from his seat. His species was known for being quick to fight. "We should send a battle fleet immediately. If the humans have developed weapons, they could be a threat." "The humans?" Ambassador Thixara laughed. Her people were traders who traveled everywhere. "Those primitives? They barely had spaceflight when they met the Hegemony Collective. That first contact was a disaster. They probably killed themselves with their own weapons by now." Admiral Kessatar tapped his data pad. "The reports from 3 centuries ago show they were violent and unpredictable. When the Hegemony tried to make contact, the humans attacked first and asked questions later. After they lost that battle, they retreated to their home system and never came out again." Velnoth nodded slowly. "That is what the records say. But these energy readings suggest something different. Either the humans have developed far beyond what we thought possible, or someone else has moved into their system." In the Sol system, Admiral Kim Taeho walked through the command deck of the massive ship Sovereign. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and the gentle voice of his communications officer reporting ship statuses. Through the huge windows, he could see 11 other ships just like his own. Each one was over 2 kilometers, long and bristling with weapons that could crack a planet. "Admiral," came a voice behind him. Kim turned to see Dr. Lee Bo-Ram approaching with her usual serious expression. She carried a data tablet filled with the information they had been gathering for 3 centuries. "Doctor," Kim replied with a small bow. "Are your teams ready?" "The Xenobiology Department has complete files on all known Coalition species," Lee said. "We know their languages, their cultures, their military capabilities, and their trade routes. We have been watching them for a very long time." Kim looked out at the fleet again. 12 Dreadnoughts, 300 support ships, 200,000 crew members. All of it built in secret, while the galaxy thought humanity was dead or dying. "Captain Park Sujin reports that the forward scouts are ready to move," Lee continued. "Engineer Chief Han Mi-young says all ships are at full power. Colonel Yoon Jae-sung has his Marines prepared for any situation." "Good," Kim said. "It is time the galaxy learned that humanity never forgot what happened 300 years ago. We just learned from it. The first contact with the Hegemony Collective had been a disaster, just as the aliens said. Humanity had been young and eager to meet other species. When the alien ships arrived, humans had tried to welcome them. But the Hegemony saw only a primitive species ready to be enslaved. The battle had been quick and brutal. Human ships were destroyed easily. Millions died. The survivors had 2 choices: surrender or fight a war they could not win. Instead, they chose a third option. They disappeared. For 300 years, humanity had watched and learned. They built new technologies in secret. They studied every alien species they could find. They mapped every star system and trade route. They waited. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we are receiving transmission from the outer patrol stations. Coalition ships are moving toward our system." Kim smiled slightly. "How many ships?" "6 patrol vessels, sir. They are staying at the edge of our sensor range." "Let them watch," Kim said. "Soon they will see much more than they expect." Captain Park Soo-jin stood on the bridge of her own dreadnought, the Indomitable. Her ship was the fastest in the fleet. It would be the first to make contact with the coalition forces when the time came. "All stations report ready, Captain," her first officer announced. Park nodded. She had trained for this moment her entire life. Every human had. They all knew the story of the first contact. They all knew why humanity had hidden for so long. And they all knew that when humanity returned to the galaxy, it would be on their own terms. "Signal the fleet," Park ordered. "All ships, prepare to move beyond Pluto's orbit. Set course for the galactic trade routes." Across the fleet, engines that had been designed and built in complete secrecy came to life. Power levels that would have amazed the coalition flowed through systems that represented 3 centuries of human advancement. Ships that could have easily destroyed the hegemony collective began to move. On Nexus Prime, emergency alarms began to sound in the Coalition Command Center. Admiral Kessid rushed to the main display screen as data poured in from the outer rim sensors. 12 massive objects, the sensor operator reported. "They are moving faster than anything we have on record. Power signatures are..." "Impossible, sir." Kessid felt his heart sink as he realized what they were seeing. "How big are these objects?" "Each one is over 2 kilometers long, sir. And there are hundreds of smaller ships with them." High Arbiter Velnoth arrived at the command center just as the final sensor reports came in. He read the data twice before speaking. "It appears," he said quietly, "that we were very wrong about what happened to humanity." The coalition had 3 centuries of peace. They had grown comfortable thinking they were the strongest powers in the galaxy. They had forgotten that sometimes when you think you have won, your enemy is actually just getting ready for the real fight. Admiral Kim Tae-ho looked at the star charts one more time. Every coalition military base was marked. Every trade route was mapped. Every weakness was known. Humanity had spent 300 years preparing for this moment. "Signal all ships," he ordered. "Today, humanity returns to the galaxy." Captain Park Soo-jin watched the stars change as her ship moved through space faster than any coalition vessel could match. The Indomitable led the human fleet like a sword cutting through darkness. Behind her followed 11 other dreadnoughts, each one a masterpiece of human engineering that the galaxy had never seen. "Captain," her navigation officer called out, "we are approaching the coalition checkpoint at Grid 77 Alpha." Park nodded. "Reduce speed to normal space travel. Let them get a good look at us." The coalition checkpoint was a small station with 4 patrol ships. They were positioned to watch one of the major trade routes. For 300 years, they had seen nothing but merchant vessels and the occasional pirate. Today would be different. Commander Vix Allen was drinking his morning nutrition supplement when the alarm started screaming. He dropped his cup and ran to the command center. What he saw on the display screen made him forget how to breathe. "How many ships?" he asked his sensor operator. 12 large vessels, sir. And, sir, I count over 300 smaller ships behind them." Vix Allen had been a coalition officer for 40 years. He had never seen anything like this. The lead ship alone was bigger than his entire station. "Open communications. Try to contact them." Park received the communication request and smiled. "Put them through." The screen in front of her showed a nervous-looking alien with blue skin and large eyes. She could see the fear in his expression as he tried to speak. "Unknown vessels. This is Commander Vix Allen of Coalition Checkpoint 77 Alpha. Please identify yourselves and state your purpose in Coalition space. Park looked directly at the camera. Commander Vix Allen, this is Captain Park Soo-jin of the Earth ship Indomitable. We are passing through on our way to Nexus Prime. We have business with the Coalition Council. The alien's eyes grew even larger. Earth? Did you say Earth? That is correct, Commander. Please clear your ships from our path. We do not wish any trouble. Vix Allen looked at his display again. The human ships were not slowing down. If anything, they seemed to be moving faster. Captain Park, I must ask you to stop for inspection. Coalition law requires all unknown vessels to submit to security scanning. Park's smile disappeared. Commander, I suggest you check your history files about humanity's last inspection by alien forces. We are not unknown vessels. We are Earth ships returning to claim our place in the galaxy. Stand aside. The human fleet kept moving. Vix Allen watched helplessly as his 4 patrol ships were passed by like they were standing still. The energy readings from the human vessels were so high that his sensors could barely measure them. Sir, his communications officer said quietly. Should we call for backup? Vix Allen looked at the display one more time. 300 human ships had just passed through his checkpoint without slowing down. Call Coalition Command. Tell them, humanity is back. On Nexus Prime, Admiral Kessatar received the emergency message and immediately called High Arbiter Dreadnoughts. Within an hour, every Coalition leader was in the emergency meeting room. The reports are confirmed, Kessatar announced. Human ships have passed through 3 checkpoints without stopping. They are heading directly for our capital system. War Marshal Gorthek slammed his fist on the table. This is an invasion. We must respond with force. With what force? Admiral, Kessatar asked quietly. Our largest ships are half the size of their smallest vessels. Our fastest ships cannot keep up with their slowest ones. Ambassador Thixara leaned forward. Perhaps we should try to communicate with them. If they wanted to attack us, they could have destroyed those checkpoints easily. High Arbiter Dreadnoughts nodded. The ambassador is right. Send a diplomatic message. Ask them what they want. Dr. Lee Boram received the Coalition's message aboard the Sovereign and brought it to Admiral Kim Tae-ho. She found him in the ship's observation deck looking out at the stars they were passing. Admiral, the Coalition wants to talk, Lee said. They are asking about our intentions. Kim took the message tablet and read it carefully. What do you think, Doctor? Are they ready to listen? Their tone suggests fear more than curiosity, Lee replied. But that may work in our favor. Fear makes people pay attention. Kim nodded. Send a reply. Tell them we wish to address the Coalition Council. We have matters of mutual interest to discuss. Engineer Chief Han Mi-young was in the main engine room when the reply was sent. She watched the massive fusion reactors that powered the ship work at barely 10% capacity. The humans had learned to build engines that could power entire planets. Today, they were just cruising. Chief, one of her technicians called out. The Coalition ships are trying to scan us again. Han laughed. Let them try. Our shields will turn their scanners into noise. They might learn something about physics, though. The Coalition scanning attempts were indeed turning into noise, but the noise itself was teaching them things they did not want to know. The human ships seemed to ignore the laws of physics that governed Coalition technology. Their shields deflected scanning beams like they were made of solid metal. Their engines produced no waste heat that sensors could detect. Admiral Kessatar looked at the sensor reports and felt old. How is this possible? How did a primitive species develop technology this advanced? High Arbiter Dreadnoughts had been thinking the same thing. Perhaps they were never as primitive as we thought, or perhaps 300 years of isolation taught them things we never imagined. Colonel Yoon Jae-sung stood in the Marine barracks of the Indomitable, watching his soldiers prepare their equipment. They all knew that this mission might require fighting, but they hoped it would not. Human military doctrine had changed greatly since the disaster with the Hegemony Collective. "Remember," Yoon told his squad leaders, "we are not here to conquer anyone. We are here to make sure humanity is never underestimated again." The squad leaders nodded. They had trained for years to fight alien species if necessary. But they had also trained to show restraint. Humanity had learned that sometimes the threat of overwhelming force was more effective than using it. Captain Park watched her navigation display as the human fleet approached the outer edge of the Nexus system. "Communications. Send a message to all coalition vessels in the system. Tell them we are entering their space peacefully, but we will defend ourselves if attacked." The message was received by over 200 coalition ships in the Nexus system. Most of them were cargo vessels and civilian transports, but 43 of them were military ships, including some of the coalition's most powerful battleships. Admiral Kessitar was aboard the flagship Unity when the human message arrived. He read it carefully and made a decision that would change. "Galactic history. All ships, maintain position but do not target the human vessels. We are going to see what they want." War Marshal Gorthek disagreed strongly. "Admiral, this is a mistake. We should strike first while we still have numerical advantage." "Numerical advantage?" Kessitar replied. "Look at your sensors, Marshal. Each of their ships could probably destroy our entire fleet. We are going to try diplomacy." The human fleet entered the Nexus system like a parade of giants. Their ships moved in perfect formation. Their weapons were clearly visible but not aimed at anyone. They broadcast no threats, made no demands. They simply announced their presence and waited. Ambassador Thixara received permission to attempt contact with the human fleet. She broadcast on all frequencies, hoping someone would respond. "Human vessels, this is Ambassador Thixara of the Coalition Council. We welcome you to the Nexus system. May we ask the purpose of your visit?" Dr. Lee Boram received the message and smiled. This was the moment they had been preparing for. "Admiral, the Coalition is ready to talk." Kim Tae-ho straightened his uniform and walked to the communications center. "Put me through to their ambassador." When Ambassador Thixara saw the human face on her screen, she was surprised. He looked calm and confident, but not aggressive. His eyes showed intelligence and patience. "Ambassador Thixara," Kim said with a slight bow. "I am Admiral Kim Tae-ho of the Earth Defense Force. We request an audience with the Coalition Council. Humanity has been absent from galactic affairs for too long." Thixara felt her heart racing. "Admiral, may I ask, where has humanity been for the past 3 centuries? Kim's expression did not change. "We have been learning, Ambassador, learning and preparing. Now we are ready to rejoin the galaxy as equals, not as subjects." The word equals sent a chill through every coalition leader who heard it. For 300 years, they had been the dominant powers in the galaxy. The idea that humanity considered itself their equal was both surprising and frightening. High Arbiter Velnoth made the final decision. "Tell the human admiral that the Coalition Council will meet with him, but the meeting will take place on neutral ground." Admiral Kim Tae-ho accepted the proposal with one change. "We agree to neutral ground, but our ships will remain in the system. We have learned not to trust easily." As the human fleet took position around the Nexus system, every coalition citizen looked up at the sky and wondered what would happen next. The galaxy had just become a much more interesting place. The neutral station Haven's Rest floated in the empty space between 2 star systems. It had been built 50 years ago for meetings between species that did not trust each other completely. Today, it would host the most important meeting in galactic history. Admiral Kim Tae-ho arrived in a small shuttle that looked simple from the outside. Ambassador Thixara was waiting for him at the docking bay, along with 6 other coalition representatives. When the shuttle doors opened, they got their first close look at humans in 300 years. Kim stepped out wearing a dark blue uniform with simple decorations. Behind him came Dr. Lee Boram carrying a data case, and two guards who looked calm but alert. The humans appeared exactly like the old records described them, but there was something different in their eyes. Confidence, maybe, or patience. "Admiral Kim," Thixera said with a formal bow. "Welcome to Haven's Rest. The Coalition Council is eager to hear what humanity has to say." Kim returned the bow politely. "Thank you, Ambassador. We appreciate this opportunity to speak." As they walked through the station corridors, Kim noticed the hidden security cameras and the guards trying to look casual. He said nothing, but Dr. Lee quietly made notes on her data pad. Humanity had become very good at noticing details. The main meeting room was circular with seats arranged so that no one species sat higher than others. Representatives from 12 different coalition species were present. High Arbiter Velnoth sat directly across from where Kim would sit. War Marshal Gorthek was positioned where he could watch the humans closely. "Admiral Kim Tae-ho," Velnoth began formally. "On behalf of the Coalition Council, I welcome humanity back to Galactic Society. We are curious about what your people have been doing for the past 3 centuries. Kim sat down and placed his hands flat on the table. "High Arbiter, we have been watching, learning, growing. The galaxy taught us some hard lessons during our first contact. We made sure to understand those lessons completely." Admiral Kessitar leaned forward. "Our records show that humanity retreated after the conflict with the Hegemony Collective. We assumed your species had either destroyed itself or returned to a primitive state." "That was exactly what we wanted you to assume," Dr. Lee said quietly. Everyone in the room turned to look at her. "Sometimes the best strategy is to let your enemies think they have won." War Marshal Gorthek's face showed anger. "Enemies? The Coalition was not involved in that ancient conflict. Why do you consider us enemies?" Kim's expression remained calm. "Marshal, the Coalition watched the Hegemony enslave or destroy dozens of species over the past 3 centuries. You did nothing to stop them. You made trade agreements with them. You shared technology with them. From our perspective, silence in the face of evil is the same as supporting it." The room became very quiet. Several Coalition representatives looked uncomfortable. The truth was that the Hegemony Collective had been useful to them, even if their methods were questionable. High Arbiter Velnoth spoke carefully. "Admiral, the Hegemony was a powerful force. The Coalition chose diplomacy over warfare to maintain peace." "Peace for whom?" Lee asked. She opened her data case and activated a holographic display. "The Cadron species, enslaved by the Hegemony 40 years ago. Population before contact, 2 billion. Current population, 6 million slaves. The Yelthin. Civilization, destroyed by the Hegemony 60 years ago when they refused to surrender their home world. Population before contact, 5 billion. Current population, 0. The holographic display showed image after image of dead worlds and enslaved populations. The Coalition representatives had seen some of these reports before, but they had never been presented so clearly. "The Coalition knew about these atrocities," Kim said. "Your own intelligence services documented them. But you did nothing because the Hegemony was not threatening you directly." Ambassador Thixara tried to defend the Coalition's position. "Admiral, the Hegemony was too strong to fight directly. Any military action would have resulted in massive casualties on both sides." Kim smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "Ambassador, would you like to know what happened to the Hegemony Collective?" Every person in the room became very still. The Hegemony had disappeared mysteriously 2 years ago. Their ships had simply vanished from all known space. The Coalition had been investigating, but they had found no answers. "The Hegemony encountered 12 human ships near the edge of their territory," Kim continued. "They made the same mistake they always made. They assumed they were dealing with a weak species that could be easily conquered." Dr. Lee activated another holographic display. This one showed a star system with 4 planets. This was the hegemony, capital system. Population, 15 billion. Military installations, 47. Fleet strength, over 3,000 ships. The display changed to show the same system completely empty. No planets, no ships, no debris, just empty space around. A single star. What happened to them? High Arbiter Velnoth asked quietly. They attacked first and asked questions later, Kim replied. Just like they did to every other species they encountered. We defended ourselves. War Marshal Gorthek stood up suddenly. You destroyed an entire star system? That's impossible. No species has that kind of power. Kim looked at him calmly. Marshal, you are thinking about power the way the galaxy has always thought about it. You build bigger ships with bigger guns and hope that is enough. Humanity learned to think differently. Engineer Chief Han Mi-young's voice came through Kim's communication device. She was still aboard the Sovereign, but her words reached the meeting room clearly. Admiral, if I may, Han said. The Coalition representatives might be interested in a small demonstration. Through the station's windows, everyone could see the human fleet in the distance. As they watched, one of the Dreadnoughts began to glow with a soft blue light. The light grew brighter until it was almost too bright to look at. Chief Han is charging one of our defensive systems, Kim explained. Nothing dangerous, just enough to show how our technology works. The glow around the human ship suddenly expanded into a sphere of energy that was 10 times the size of the ship itself. Inside the sphere, space itself seemed to bend and twist. Then the sphere collapsed back to nothing, and the ship looked normal again. That was our basic shield system at 5% power, Kim said. At full power, it could protect an entire planet from any weapon the galaxy has ever built. The Coalition representatives stared at each other in shock. The technology they had just witnessed was beyond anything they had imagined possible. Admiral Kessitar asked the question they were all thinking. How? How did humanity develop such advanced technology in only 3 centuries? Dr. Lee answered. We had advantages that other species did not have. We were united. We had a clear goal, and we had 300 years with no distractions from galactic politics or trade disputes. We focused entirely on advancing our science and technology. But more importantly, Kim added, we had motivation. The galaxy had shown us what happened to weak species. We decided we would never be weak again. High Arbiter Velnoth realized that everything had changed. Admiral, what does humanity want from the Coalition? Kim's expression became serious. We want recognition as an equal partner in galactic affairs. We want a voice in decisions that affect all species. And we want to work together to make sure that what happened with the hegemony never happens again. War Marshal Gorthek was not satisfied. And if the Coalition refuses? Kim looked at him directly. Marshal, the Coalition is free to make its own choices, but understand that humanity is returning to the galaxy whether the Coalition agrees or not. The only question is whether we work together or whether you try to stop us. Is that a threat? Gorthek demanded. It is a fact, Kim replied. The age of humanity hiding in their home system is over. We are back, we are strong, and we are here to stay. Ambassador Thixara looked around the room at her fellow Coalition members. Fear was visible on every face. But she also saw something else. Hope, maybe. The possibility that the galaxy could finally have peace under the protection of a truly powerful force. Admiral, she said, what would this partnership look like? Kim relaxed slightly. We share technology that benefits everyone. We work together to protect weaker species from those who would harm them. We explore the galaxy together and face whatever challenges we might find. And humanity leads this partnership? Velnoth asked. Humanity protects this partnership, Kim corrected. Leadership can be shared among equals, but protection requires strength, and right now, humanity is the strongest. The meeting continued for 6 more hours. The coalition representatives asked hundreds of questions about human technology, military capabilities, and intentions. Kim and Lee answered honestly, but they made it clear that some information would only be shared after formal agreements were made. When the meeting finally ended, High Arbiter Velnoth made a decision that would reshape the galaxy. The Coalition. Council will vote on your proposal, Admiral Kim, but I believe I can speak for most of us when I say that we welcome humanity's return. Kim stood and bowed formally. High Arbiter, humanity hopes for a peaceful and productive future with all Coalition species. 3 weeks after the meeting at Haven's Rest, the Coalition Council voted. 11 species voted to accept humanity's partnership proposal. Only War Marshal Gorthek's people voted against it. The decision was clear. Humanity would be welcomed back to the galaxy as equals. Captain Park Soo-jin stood on the observation deck of the Indomitable, watching Coalition ships arrive at the Nexus system for the signing ceremony. Each species sent their finest vessels to show respect for this historic moment. But even their best ships looked small next to the human Dreadnoughts. Captain, her communications officer called out. We are receiving a message from the Coalition. Flagship. Admiral Kestar requests permission to come aboard for a tour. Park smiled. Grant permission. Have Colonel Yoon meet him at the docking bay. Colonel Yoon Jae-sung waited at the airlock as the Coalition shuttle attached to their ship. When the doors opened, Admiral Kessatar stepped through, followed by 6 other officers from different species. They all looked nervous. Admiral Kessatar, Yoon said with a respectful bow. Welcome aboard the Indomitable. Captain Park is waiting to show you our ship. As they walked through the corridors, the Coalition officers tried not to stare. The human ship was enormous inside. The corridors were wide enough for vehicles to drive through. The ceiling was so high that their voices echoed. Everything looked new and advanced. How many crew members does this ship carry? Admiral Kessistar asked. 18,000, Yoon replied. But the ship could operate with as few as 50 people if necessary. Most of our systems are automated. They reached the main bridge where Captain Park was waiting. The bridge was larger than most Coalition ship command centers. Dozens of workstations were arranged in levels, with the captain's chair at the center where she could see everything. Admiral Kessatar, Park said, extending her hand in the human greeting. I am honored to have you aboard. Kessatar shook her hand carefully. Captain Park, your ship is impressive. May I ask how long it took to build? This particular ship took 4 years to construct, Park replied. But we have been building ships like this for over a century. We have 72 Dreadnoughts in total, along with over 2,000 smaller vessels. The Coalition officers looked at each other in shock. They had thought the 12 ships at Nexus were humanity's entire fleet. Learning that this was only a small part of human military power changed everything. Would you like to see our weapon systems? Park asked casually. One of the younger Coalition officers nodded eagerly before Admiral Kessatar could stop him. Park led them to an observation window that looked out at space. Computer, activate target drone, Park ordered. A small object appeared in space about 10 kilometers away. It was about the size of a Coalition fighter ship. Park turned to a weapons control panel that looked surprisingly simple. This is our basic energy cannon, she explained. It fires concentrated plasma at near light speed. We use it for asteroid mining and clearing space debris. Park pressed a single button. A beam of blue light shot from the Indomitable and touched the target drone. The drone simply ceased to exist. It did not explode or break apart. It just vanished as if it had never been there. That was at 1% power, Park said. At full power, the beam could cut through a planet's crust. Admiral Kessatar felt sick. Captain, how many weapons like that does your ship carry? 247, Park answered. Plus missile systems, defensive shields, and close-range protection arrays. Meanwhile, in the main conference Room of the space station, Dr. Lee Bo Ram was meeting with coalition scientists. She had brought samples of human technology that she was willing to share. The coalition scientists could barely believe what they were seeing. "This material," Dr. Vexilon said, holding a small piece of metal. "It appears to be stronger than our best armor plating, but it weighs almost nothing. How do you create it?" Lee smiled. "We call it quantum-bonded titanium. The manufacturing process requires technology that we would be happy to share with the coalition. It could make your ships much safer for your crews." Dr. Nithara, a coalition engineer, was examining a human computer processor. "This computational device is smaller than my finger, but it appears to process more information than our largest computers. Is this typical of human technology?" "That is actually an older model," Lee replied. "We brought it because it is simple enough for other species to understand and manufacture. Our current processors are about 1,000 times more powerful." The coalition scientists spent hours asking questions about human medical technology, energy production, and manufacturing techniques. Lee answered their questions patiently, but she made it clear that full technology sharing would only happen after formal agreements were signed. Engineer Chief Han Mi-young was aboard the coalition flagship Unity, working with their engineering team to demonstrate human power systems. The coalition engineers watched in amazement as she connected a small human power cell to their ship's main systems. "This device," she explained, "produces more energy than your ship's main reactor. But it has no moving parts and produces no waste heat." Chief Engineer Tokvar stared at the readings on his instruments. "Impossible. The power output should require a fusion reaction, but I detect no radiation, no plasma containment fields, no magnetic bottles. Our power systems work differently," Han said. "We learned to extract energy directly from the quantum vacuum. It is completely clean and essentially unlimited." "Could this technology power our entire civilization?" Tokvar asked quietly. "Easily," Han replied. "One power station using this technology could provide energy for your entire home world for 1,000 years." Back on the space station, High Arbiter Dreadnoughts was meeting privately with Admiral Kim Tae-ho. They were discussing the formal agreements that would govern humanity's relationship with the coalition. "Admiral," Dreadnoughts said, "your people are offering to share technology that could transform our entire civilization. What do you want in return?" Kim thought carefully before answering. "High Arbiter, we want 3 things. First, full recognition of Earth as a sovereign world with equal voice in coalition decisions. Second, cooperation in exploring unknown regions of the galaxy. Third, agreement that the coalition will never again stand by while strong species destroy weak ones." "The first 2 points are acceptable," Dreadnoughts replied, "but the third point concerns me. Are you asking the coalition to become a military alliance?" "I am asking the coalition to become protectors instead of just traitors," Kim said. "The galaxy has too many predators and not enough guardians. With human military strength supporting coalition diplomacy, we could create real peace." Dreadnoughts nodded slowly. "And if some species refuse to accept this new order?" Kim's expression became serious. "Then they will learn what happened to the Hegemony Collective. We prefer cooperation, but we will not allow the strong to prey on the weak." Ambassador Thixara interrupted their meeting with urgent news. "High Arbiter, Admiral, we have received reports from the Outer Rim. Long-range sensors have detected massive objects moving toward inhabited space. They appear to be artificial, but they do not match any known ship designs." Kim and Dreadnoughts looked at the sensor data on Thixara's tablet. The objects were huge, larger even than human dreadnoughts. There were dozens of them, and they were moving fast. "How long until they reach the nearest inhabited system?" Kim asked. 6 weeks, Thixara replied. "Maybe less." Kim activated his communicator. "Captain Park, Prepare the fleet for immediate departure. We may have found our first test of the new alliance. High Arbiter Velnoth realized that their negotiations were about to become much more urgent. Admiral, the Coalition fleet could be ready to support you within days. With respect, High Arbiter, Coalition ships would not survive contact with whatever those objects are, Kim replied. But Coalition intelligence and logistics support would be invaluable. Dr. Lee Bo-Ram joined the meeting as emergency plans were being made. Admiral, our analysis of the sensor data suggests these objects are very old, possibly ancient technology from a lost civilization. Are they hostile? Velnoth asked. We cannot determine their intentions from this distance, Lee replied. But their course will take them through 3 inhabited systems. If they are hostile, millions of people could die. Kim made the decision that would cement humanity's role as the galaxy's protector. High Arbiter, the Earth Defense Force will intercept these objects before they can threaten any inhabited worlds. Consider this our first joint operation. Colonel Yoon Jae-sung received the alert aboard the Indomitable. His Marines immediately began preparing for combat operations. They had trained for scenarios like this, but they had never faced unknown alien technology. Colonel, Captain Park announced over the ship's communication system, all human vessels are to rendezvous at Grid Point 7 Alpha. We deploy in 18 hours. The Coalition representatives watched as the human fleet prepared to leave Nexus. The Dreadnoughts powered up their engines and began moving with purpose and efficiency that impressed even their critics. War Marshal Gorthek, who had opposed the alliance, found himself hoping the humans would succeed. If they can protect us from unknown threats, he admitted to Admiral Kessatar, then perhaps this alliance is wise. The ancient ships were even larger than the sensor readings had suggested. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the Sovereign, watching the massive objects through the main display. Each one was over 5 kilometers long and shaped like a dark crystal. They moved through space without any visible engines, leaving trails of energy that seemed to bend space itself. 73 objects confirmed, his sensor officer reported. They are ignoring our communication attempts. Course unchanged toward the Kepler colonies. Dr. Lee Bo-Ram studied the readings from her science station. Admiral, the energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. These ships are definitely not from any known species. The technology appears to be at least 10,000 years old. Captain Park Soo-jin's voice came through the communication system from the Indomitable. Admiral, my ship is detecting weapon systems on the ancient vessels. They are powering up some kind of defensive grid. Kim nodded grimly. All ships, maintain safe distance but prepare for combat. If these objects reach the Kepler colonies, 2 billion people will be in danger. The Kepler colonies were among the oldest Coalition settlements outside their home systems. 3 worlds with established cities, trade centers, and families who had lived there for generations. The ancient ships were only 4 days away from reaching them. Admiral, his communications officer called out, we are receiving a message from High Arbiter Velnoth. The display screen showed Velnoth aboard the Coalition command ship, surrounded by representatives from all member species. Even War Marshal Gorthek was present, looking worried. Admiral Kim, Velnoth said, the Coalition Council has voted unanimously to place all of our military forces under your command for this operation. We trust humanity's judgment in this matter. Kim felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The Coalition was trusting him with the lives of billions of people. High Arbiter, we are honored by your trust. What is the status of evacuation efforts? Civilian transports are moving people from the outer settlements, Velnoth replied, but we cannot evacuate entire worlds in only 4 days. If these ancient ships are hostile, you are our only hope. Kim looked at his fleet status display. 12 Dreadnoughts, 300 support ships, and the most advanced technology humanity had ever built. It would have to be enough. All ships, he announced over the fleet communication system. Today we face an unknown enemy to protect innocent people. This is why humanity returned to the galaxy. Show them what Earth's children can do. The ancient ships suddenly changed course, turning directly toward the human fleet. Whatever intelligence controlled them had decided that humanity was a threat worth addressing. Engineer Chief Han Mi-young's voice echoed through the ship. Admiral, the ancient vessels are charging weapons. Energy levels are significant. Define significant, Chief, Kim requested. Each ship appears to be capable of destroying a planet, sir. We are facing total firepower equivalent to our entire fleet. Captain Park moved her ship into attack formation with the other dreadnoughts. All weapon systems ready, Admiral. Shields at maximum power. The first ancient ship fired. A beam of pure energy, brighter than a star, lanced across space toward the Indomitable. The beam struck Park's shields and stopped. The human defensive systems absorbed the energy and redirected it harmlessly into space. Shields holding it. 97%, Park reported calmly. That weapon would have destroyed any coalition ship instantly. Kim smiled grimly. Return fire. Show them we are not helpless prey. The Indomitable fired a single plasma cannon at the ancient ship. The blue beam struck the alien vessel's hull and burned through 5 kilometers of unknown armor in seconds. The ancient ship shuddered but continued moving. Damage confirmed on Target 1, the sensor officer reported. But it is still operational. These ships are incredibly tough. The battle began in earnest. Ancient ships fired weapons that could crack moons, while human dreadnoughts responded with plasma beams that could cut through anything. The space between them filled with energy discharges that lit up nearby star systems. Colonel Yoon Jae-sung watched the battle from the Marine Command Center. His troops were ready to board any ancient ship that was disabled, but so far the enemy vessels showed no signs of slowing down. Colonel, one of his lieutenants reported, sensors show that these ancient ships have crews. We are reading life signs aboard several vessels. Yoon frowned. Life signs? After 10,000 years? Dr. Lee Bo-ram's voice came through the communication system. Colonel, these beings may be in some kind of suspended animation. If we can capture one of their ships intact, we might be able to communicate with them. The battle continued for 6 hours. Human ships used their superior maneuverability to avoid the worst of the ancient weapons while concentrating fire on individual targets. One by one, the massive alien vessels were disabled or destroyed, but the ancient ships were learning. Their targeting became more accurate. Their weapons adapted to human shield frequencies. What had started as a one-sided battle was becoming a serious fight. Admiral, Captain Park reported, the Defiant has taken heavy damage. Her shields are failing. Kim watched as one of his dreadnoughts struggled to maintain position. The ancient ships were focusing their fire on the damaged vessel. All ships, protect the Defiant. Form defensive screen. The human fleet moved like a school of fish, each ship positioning itself to protect the others. Their coordination was perfect, the result of centuries of training and preparation. War Marshal Gorthek watched the battle from the Coalition command ship. He had spent his career studying military tactics, but he had never seen anything like this. The humans fought with a combination of overwhelming firepower and precise coordination that was almost artistic. Admiral Kessatar, he said quietly, I was wrong to oppose the alliance. These humans are not just powerful, they are skilled. Warriors fighting to protect others. High Arbiter Velnoth nodded. Marshal, this is what true strength looks like. Not the desire to conquer, but the will to protect. The turning point came when Dr. Lee Bo-ram made a breakthrough. Admiral, I have been analyzing the ancient ship communication systems. I think I can establish contact with their command vessel. Do it, Kim ordered. Lee's fingers moved quickly over her console. After several minutes, a new voice filled the bridge. It was deep and ancient, speaking a language that had been dead for millennia. But the translation computers worked quickly. "Unknown vessels," the ancient voice said, "you have interfered with our awakening. We are the eternal guardians. We have slept for 10,000 years while our worlds died. Now we wake to find our galaxy filled with primitive species playing at civilization." Kim stepped forward. "Eternal Guardians, I am Admiral Kim Tae-ho of humanity. We do not wish to fight you, but we cannot allow you to harm innocent people." There was a long pause. "Humanity? We remember your species. Young, violent, primitive. You were judged unworthy of survival." "We have grown since then," Kim replied. "We have learned wisdom along with strength. The galaxy is under our protection now." The ancient voice laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Protection? From children who have barely learned to walk among the stars? You know nothing of the dangers that exist in the dark spaces between galaxies." Dr. Lee Bo-Ram activated her holographic display, showing images of the coalition worlds, the diverse species working together, the cities and families that called the galaxy home. "Eternal Guardian," she said, "look at what the galaxy has become. Dozens of species working together. Art, science, trade, friendship. Is this not worth protecting?" Another long pause. When the ancient voice spoke again, it sounded different. Sadder, perhaps. "We see what you have built," the Guardian said. "It is better than what we left behind. But great darkness comes from beyond the galactic rim. Ancient enemies that we've failed to stop. They will devour all of this beauty unless someone stands against them." Kim felt a chill. "What enemies?" "The Devourers," the Guardian replied. "They consume entire galaxies, leaving nothing but empty space. We fought them once and lost. Our civilization was destroyed. We slept, hoping that when we woke, someone else would be strong enough to face them. The battle had stopped. Ancient ships and human vessels floated near each other in tense peace while this conversation continued. "Guardian," Kim said, "how long do we have?" "The Devourers move slowly but surely, perhaps 1,000 years before they reach this galaxy. But when they come, they will bring fleets that block out the stars." Engineer Chief Han Mi-young's voice interrupted. "Admiral, I am reading massive power buildups in the ancient ships, but not weapons. Something else." The Guardian's voice became urgent. "Young Admiral, we offer you our knowledge, the science and weapons we developed in our final war against the Devourers. Take it. Use it. Prepare your alliance for what is coming." Light began streaming from the ancient ships toward the human fleet. Not weapons this time, but information. Thousands of years of accumulated knowledge about technologies beyond human imagination. "Why?" Kim asked. "Why give this to us?"